Fantasy castings. Something that was there from the very start of Hot Wheels, and yet the bane of many collectors. And I feel it. I get it. Like, you get a 5-pack, and you get a bunch of cool cars, and yet one of them is, for example, this one here, right? From the Flames 5-pack of last year. So, you know, it's not something necessarily collect, and yet it's there. You also have that happening in 8-packs and 20-packs and all that stuff. And even, like, that's the majority of the mystery models, fantasy castings. So yes, I totally get why some people can be frustrated by them. However, I think there's also a great beauty to them and a very fun collectability factor. And I want to take some time, make a video of 10 fantasy castings that I really, really love, and I wanted to share those with you. And like, there's tons of them. So, like, just as an example of how many there are, see all these here? These are not on my list. So I'll just get them out of here, out of the way. And yes, you can end up with so many fantasy castings just by collecting a little bit. All right. So before we get to the 10, I'll give some honorable mentions. These are not numbers 11, 12, 13. They're just some that you won't see for specific reasons. Like, I'd love to have them, but I can't. I'll show you why. So, for example, here we've got the rigor mortar. So this is like I've talked about before on this channel. I do love this casting, but I love it. I love this iteration of it. So this is the before the retooling. See, it's got that extra bit here with the skeletons and like the grill piece, which is really, really cool. And yet now it's not there anymore. And what sucks is that it's not even molded in. It's just not there, and it just looks like it's missing something, the new casting today. And I don't have one because I don't like it. Even have, like, for example, this bat here, which is contrast, which, you know, stands out because it contrasts to the base, and yet now it's molded within the base. So yeah, it's sadly has not changed for the better. So that's why I won't appear. There's also the cloak and dagger, which I think is an awesome, a really, really cool idea. Like, it's an awesome idea. Like, for example, here you've got, just to show you as a fan of sci-fi, what's cool is that this looks to me like, you know, very H.R. Geiger inspired. All right. However, and you'll see it here, because the mechanics of it, of having to remove it, requires like a lot of precision, and these are, you know, mass produced. It's not the perfect type of process to have something that requires such precision to, you know, removing something, because depending on you know, just if it's just not exactly the right how do I say this, like, thickness, it can break, and which is the case here. So you have to, like, it requires a lot of minutia to get the gimmick. And this being a kid's toy, it's not exactly something that I would, you know, it's bad. It doesn't work out every time. That's it. So that's why this one's not there. I just don't think something that precise works. You're gonna have a lot of, like me, it didn't work out for me. Mine broke. It's not great for kids either. Another one that I thought was cool, I wanted to mention. The Nitro Tailgater, we see it quite a bit. It shows up a lot all over the place. And while I think it's very cool, the concept, like the story it tells of having this SUV that's becoming like a drag racer type car, right? Like, and the fact that, you know, for example, the back here becomes like a fin in the back. And you've got the parachute. You've got the motor here sticking out. And you can actually see all the bucket seats that have been put. There are 6 of them. So it's like really using the fact that you can have a lot of people in this SUV turning into a drag car. Like, it's cool. It's a cool story. But the plastic body, it only works for an X-Racer and, let's say, a chrome version, which is the 2 that I have. For anything else, the fact it's a plastic body, I don't know if it's because the decal they use is not great, but it just looks really, really cheap. It doesn't give me that fun, cool Hot Wheels look. Instead, it just looks like a cheap toy car. So that's why this one's not there either. And my last one we'll mention is one that it's the Vancinator, which I think is a really cool casting, and yet I don't think that they've given us like a decent deco of it yet. So when you got this, obviously you can't see the inside, and we know there is an inside because of the other ones, and yet that's all blocked up. So I don't know why they haven't given us something that's more like for example, the Exotique car. That one's got decent decos that are a bit more subtle, and, you know, really make the casting pop. And instead here we have these very loud decos that don't make me enjoy the casting enough. I'm still collecting it, but like I said, there's not enough cool decals to warrant it being on my list. All right, now we're gonna get to the 10. I'm gonna stop with the honorable mentions. Number 10 is the reliable twin wheel, and that's why I picked it. Because yes, very, very reliable. It's like always been around, it's a fixture of the brand, and we can see why. Any kid that needs a car to race well on a track or to do a loop, twin wheel is your go-to. And it's a fun car too that tells a story, right? So for it to go really fast, you've got that aerodynamic shape, but you've got those two motors here. So yeah, really, really fun. And for a collector, this you can go like way back. You have like at least 50 years, right? Of variations. This is obviously the latest tooling, but you can go as far back as you want with this. So that makes it for a really, really fun collectible. Also, one of the few cars that's still metal on metal, right? So like this is, I think this is the latest one. At least this is the latest one that I picked up. It was in a 5-pack last year. And yeah, metal on metal. Not always the case, like this one isn't. But yeah, and also the fact that you have this really nice surface that you can work with for some really cool decos, like you're seeing here. Actually, this one too has a cool deco. You just don't, it's very subtle, but you got like blue flames like all around. So yeah, all in all, a really fun car to collect and a fun car to have. So yeah, the twin mill. Sure nobody will disagree with that. Now, my number 9 is the Mad Fast. And I just think this is awesome. So the idea of having a fancy casting is you can do whatever you want. And in this case, Hot Wheels just went, let's just make like the fastest drag racing car that you can ever have, right? Because obviously that's what it's the style. But so basically it's just very light, not a lot going on, but you've got the exhaust, you got this giant freaking motor right here. It's just awesome looking. And I really like the cockpit area too. Like just everything about this screams fast. And you know what? And it works too. If you have like just like a ramp to go down, use this one. This one's gonna go faster than the other ones that I use. So it's really fun. So it evokes speed, and it is also speedy. Also, like since we're all fans of diecast, the actual diecast element, the metal part, is just a really, really cool shape. It's just really, really interesting what they do with it. And also you can see that even though there's not a lot to work with, they still do the most when it comes to the deco, at least for this one. And I've got a few others. I've got the Treasure Hunt, for example, that came out a few years back. And yeah, this one I'll keep picking up as it goes along. So yeah, the Mad Fast, I think, is awesome. Number 8 is the Mad Manga. What's fun about this is that, yes, it's a fantasy casting because it doesn't represent an actual licensed car. However, this is based on cars that are real in Japan. This is the Bosozoku style car. So what it is they have an actual car, but that the end, sorry about that, I'm mixing up all my words. But they're gonna add a whole bunch to it, right? So you've got those crazy exhausts in the back, right? You've got these really crazy fenders here, like just bigger, right? This giant clip in the front. You've got these slanted headlights and taillights. Like they create basically their own fantasy car. And now we have that in Hot Wheels form. So I just find it fun. It's like, it's fantasy, but also real life at the same time. I find that really awesome. To me, the best Hot Wheels designs are things that could work in real life. Yeah, so that's what I find really, really cool about it. Also, you've got, like I said, all this nice surface area to work with deco. Sadly, they haven't, I feel this one hasn't reached its like potential yet. They can do a lot more with this casting. And speaking of which, the metal component to this is also really, really nice. Nice and hefty too. So yeah, all in all, an amazing casting, the Mad Manga. Highly recommend it. Now, when it comes to number 7. So you saw that there's like one of the subsets of fast castings, I'll bring it back, are like these, for example, right? Like animals. And there's like tons of them, or food, or like very gimmicky. And while I don't have any on the list, I do have one that I love. And it's the Night Dragon. So yeah. What I find fun about this is that instead of it being just an animal on wheels. So for example, here we have the Dragon Blaster, right? It's just an animal that they put wheels on. This looks more like a vehicle that's the shape of an animal. I find that fun. And the driver happens to actually be like a knight. If you can, it's gonna focus up. So you see he's got like that knight helmet. I think that's really, really cool. But there are like car elements to it too. So it's not just under it, but you have like, right, those really big exhausts here, right? And this in the back too. So I think that's really nice. I think it's just a really well executed, like it's gimmicky for sure, but it's well executed in its gimmick. And you can have some really, really fun deco variations all throughout, right? Especially working with the whole idea of scales, as you see with these. So yeah. And also, it could be like a European dragon, hence the knight. But it could also be, in this case, because it's got a serpentine nature, it could also be an Asian dragon. So it works in double duty. So yeah, I think it's awesome. Oh, and also, this works really, really well for a track. Like if you've got like something that needs to do a loop, this works wonders. And it's surprising because it doesn't look at all like it would, but it does. And it's one of the best to use for that. Very reliable. All right. Number 6. Number 6, don't hate me, but it's a tie because it's like a generational thing. In some, for example, we've got, right, the Diora. The Diora 2 is available, Diora 3, but Diora 1 is long gone. We don't really see it much anymore, and that's too bad. But when it comes to the High Roller, this is the High Roller 1, High Roller 2, they're both on pegs now. Like, as a matter of fact, the latest case, the C case, has both of them inside. Yeah. And there's, what I love about this is a lot of potential. There's cool story, and there's a lot of potential to it too. So for example, you go to the High Roller 1, which is a hot rod, but like done in really cool luxury. There's still some hot rod elements, right? Like you've got that grill in the front. So it's very classic looking. And what's cool is that, so we saw this initially, this is the original version that came out, right? Which this one is replicating. However, it turns out there's a bunch of really cool details inside, like this really cool engine here. And when you've got it, like just to show you the potential, you could turn into an X-Racer style. Like this one's an X-Racer, right? And you can actually see the inside and all the heat that it's packing. What's cool too is that so you've got these variations. You can have it just solid colors all around, right? You got the 3 parts, even though you have the interior too. We'll talk about the layers, for example, these here, 1, 2, 3. These can be all solid, or you can have 2 solid and 1 being clear, or you can have the 2 clear here and give you an even different look. So I just find it really, really, the potential is what makes it really fun. It's a cool look, cool story, and a potential that I like about it. And it continues with this one, which is also about high luxury, but instead of it being based on the past, it's based on the future. So this is, I mean, when I see this, it's hard not to see the Rolls-Royce Phantom, right? But like an even more futuristic version of it. So I'm just looking really forward to collecting more. It's a cool casting. I mean, if this had that under it, I'm wondering what this has under it. We haven't actually seen yet. That's how new it is. So yeah, that's my number 6. 5 is the GT Hunter. Kind of like the Mad Fast, but instead of it being drag racing, it's just more like a different kind of race car. And this is what it looks like to me, just something that's made really, really fast. I love that, like I said, when it comes to a fantasy casting, they can really do whatever they want with it. And this goes all out with that idea. I do like that we have, with the layering, they do the most with it. So for example, you can see all the layers in the front being used, right? You've got the base being used here for the grill front. You've got the interior, which is used for what you see with the engine block and also with the headlights. Then you've got the clear plastic, which is also used for these fender flares. And of course, you've got the hood. So you see it all at once. I just really, really think it's cool. And that means that you also can do like cool stuff with the deco. This one's not too much since this is more of a color reveal type. But you can also go all out with the deco because you've got all the details that you would need on the car being done with the casting elements themselves. So yeah, I just think it inspires speed, which is the whole idea of Hot Wheels. And it's just really, really cool looking and awesome looking. Like I said, the fact that you've got all the 4 layers working together to create the look of the front, just changing the variations give you a lot of potential for really cool styles with this, where you don't have to rely on paint. So that's an awesome fantasy casting. Now, number 4, similar to what we talked about before. This is the Ryura Express. Now, what's fun about there's just so much fun. I don't know if I have to go through the details. I'm hoping you go like, yep, for sure. I was hoping to see that on the list. So this is also based on a Japanese style. This is the Dekotoro truck style, where the idea is that you have a truck and you just keep adding some chrome bits, put lights all over it, really turn it into a work of art. And what's fun is that Hot Wheels in turn is using that for their art cars. So on the side, like they have these murals, beautiful murals you can see online, and they're replicating it here. Now they haven't done it to the best potential. For example, like this, I get it, it was an anniversary edition, but there is like, you can do a lot more. The original release of this has a cool design here that's very Japanese. And I feel this one does as well, this art cars version that we had in 2022. But I want to see more of it. This is the most recent one we had, and I hope we get a lot more. I hope we get a lot more of this. This is just an awesome looking one. And also as a Transformers fan, like I was showing this to you, like I've been seeing this kind of truck my whole life with Robots in Disguise Ultra Magnus, who's got that as an alt mode. Now I kind of see where it comes from. Not sure if it's exactly the same thing, but that's what to me it's reminiscent to, at least for me. So yeah, look at that. It's just freaking awesome. So yeah, this is a really cool casting, and I just want to collect more and more of this. Like I want what's already come out, and I just want more to come out after that. Good. Now on to top three. Number 3 is the Diabloca Vache. As an Italian, looking at this, I just find it really cool how the Hot Wheels team decided to just take all these different elements of Italian cars from the 70s and combine them into one supercar. So for instance, if you're just looking at it just on the side, this looks very much like an Alfa Romeo GT. So, and especially the fact that it's at least alluding to the fact that this is a front engine car, even though this looks a lot also like, for example, a 70s Ferrari, which would be mid-engine instead. Like I said, that's what's cool about it. It's like a fantasy vehicle. Where exactly is the engine on this thing? Like I said, if it's more like, if we're looking at the front here, we see there's probably something there, right? Same as here, it will be front engine, but also it's kind of giving hints that it's mid-engine too. Although in the back, you see there's a spare tire. Yeah, so this is basically going all out, right? You've got those extra lights in the front, right? For it to be like a rally car, you've got those mud flaps too, right? It's just really cool looking in all that it's taking from all these different kinds of cars to make it its own. The one thing I'm not super fond of is the fact that we can actually see through it in the back, right? But at the same time, it kind of adds to the fantasy nature of the car to have this clear piece here. So yes, I'm looking forward to keep collecting. As you can see, I already have quite a few. And I do like the Italian colors. Like also, like I'm looking at it this way, this reminds me a lot of like a Lancia as well, right? Of the 70s and 80s. So yeah, it's all that's cool about Italy wrapped into one car. What's not to love? So yeah, number 3. Number 2 is the Bone Shaker. Why not? It's really cool. Like we're looking at the twin mill, and that one is a very historic car. This one has a lot less history. This one's it's just a bit over 20 years old, the Bone Shaker, and yet it feels like it's become synonymous with the Hot Wheels brand. And what's cool is that, as we saw with the other ones, what Hot Wheels does really well is to make these really souped up versions of hot rods. And that's what this is. This is like the hot rod from hell, right? So you've got like all those exhausts, you've got that engine detail right here. You can see what's propelling it there. It's just all awesome. I would like if they could, because there's like I said, there's only 3 ellipses instead of 4 because you don't have the plastic, the clear plastic element. What's fun about the older versions, and this is like one of the earlier versions, is that they colored the seats. And I would like that to come back. Obviously, maybe I'm asking too much, but it'd be fun, right? And yeah, you saw that they did go all out. This is metal on metal back in the day, and you even had rubber tires. And you see that they did slightly change the tooling, so that now that part's part of the base. And I don't mind that, actually. To me, it gives a nice contrast to it. I actually think that's very well done. What's fun about this, obviously the skull front, but also the fact that they play with that design too. So you can have like different kinds of, like for example, here you've got the red eyes. What was I looking at? This one here is been blacked out, and you can play with that. So this one here has a darker color scheme, for instance. Yeah, and you can play with, like I said, they even have a new tooling where the top has been, it's a closed roof, so you can play with that too and have a really, really cool design. All right, and yeah, play with the wheels, play with all that stuff. There's just a lot of fun to be had. And because there is that skull motif, you get to have these really badass designs like this. I picked this one to show you because this was one of my favorite graphics on it. It's just really beautiful. So yeah, the Hot Rod from Hell, I just have so much fun with the Bone Shaker. And it's really, really fun to collect. Yeah, and the one I want, I don't have it yet, but there's even one with like the Joker head in the front. That'd be cool to have. But yeah, so Bone Shaker, guys. I mean, I don't know if I have to explain myself too much, but yeah, an awesome one to collect. Clearly a lot of potential, as we saw. And yeah, just a really cool design. Leaves me with my number one. What would number one be? Well, I'll show it to you. My number one, it's a very recent casting. It is the Glory Chaser. And now I love cars from the 60s. And this is very much, like I was talking about with the Manga Vache, if that's like all the love of the 70s put into one car, we've got the same thing going on with the Glory Chaser for the 60s as a race car. What I love so much, because we're talking about castings, right? And just because they didn't have to deal with it being a real car, they actually gave us a really fantastic casting that uses up the layers beautifully. So for example, in the front here, we've got the grille that's also the same piece as the engine block here. So you can have that detail without having to sacrifice the deco, right? So for example, I'll give you a few examples here. So I've got this Ford, and the front is just so drab. Like this is like the worst kind of example you could have. And when you have that, you'd have to pay more to have a silver line where you have the grille painted, the headlights. You can maybe have, like for example here, you've got this Mustang, where once again, drab, but at least it's not the same color as the hood, but still not great. In this case though, because you're able to use the clear plastic of the windshield for the lights, you've got the lights covered. Like I said, you've also got a really cool engine block design that is also reused for like the same element is used for the grille. So that's a really cool design. Also, and this is just so bizarre, but in a cool way, the interior is a mix of the clear plastic contrasting with whatever is used for the same the same piece as the engine block and the grille. So you have this kind of, it's not exactly chrome as it comes out, and it can be different. So for example here, it gives you that look. So instead of it being just black interior, it's more of a grayish, right? Because it's got that extra clear layer on top. So yeah, really, really cool. And like I said, the fact that you've got the whole front covered for all those details means that they can go all out on the deco and make it look really awesome. So this was the first one that came out the year. And it looks a lot like, deco that's specific to that era. Like the wheels too. The wheels are really fun. So yeah, and of course it came in my gorgeous favorite Gulf color. So yeah, I just love the potential it's got. Sadly, honestly, I only had these three because these are the only three that I thought looked great. The other one that came out last year was kind of grayish and dull, and we also had one that was like teal, but like not even an interesting popping teal. In any case, just a lot of potential. I'm really curious as to what this has to offer later. I think it's an amazing casting. Something, like I said, that is familiar, yet can't exactly put it down. It's really taking like the best from that era and putting it into one. So it's something that I really encourage any collector to look at. It is by far my favorite casting and one I cannot wait to see more of. So I'll put them all here, just examples of my top 10. All right. So we can end with that. So there you go with that. We had these here. if we do like that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I wish you all an awesome day, guys. Okay, bye.